I stepped outside into the falling snow, expecting a peaceful walk to clear my head. What I didn't expect were the footprints that appeared beside mine, fresh, deliberate, following me into the dark. That's when the night turned from quiet to terrifying. New Year's night had always felt strange to me. Quiet, hollow, as if the world itself was holding its breath. That year I was completely alone. I had spent Christmas with my family, but by New Year's everyone I knew either had plans or lived too far away. I stayed home, a few beers at my side, the TV on low, letting the hours drift past me. Time felt heavy, almost sluggish, as though the night itself was pressing in. By 2 a.m, restlessness had taken over. I hadn't moved much all day, and the alcohol gave me a false confidence, making bad ideas seem harmless. I wandered toward the window, staring at the snow falling softly, like the world had muted itself under a white blanket. The sight was peaceful, almost beautiful, but there was a strange stillness in it, a weight that made me shiver despite the warmth inside. I told myself a short walk would clear my head. I layered up, jacket, gloves, hat, and stepped into the night. The cold hit immediately, sharp and clean, biting at my cheeks and nose. The street was empty. No cars, no voices, no music. Just the soft fall of snow under the orange streetlights. Even for New Year's, it felt wrong, too quiet, almost unnatural. I wandered without plan, letting my feet guide me, the crunch of snow under my boots the only sound breaking the silence. Houses were decorated from Christmas, but the windows were dark, giving the impression that the neighborhood had been abandoned, frozen in time. The longer I walked, the more isolated I felt, and by the time I reached the park, the stillness had become suffocating. The path was lightly covered in snow, softening my footsteps. The park lights were completely off. Darkness stretched beyond the reach of the street, thick and unbroken. I slowed, suddenly aware of how far I had wandered. Then I saw them. Footprints. Another set. Close. Too close. They hadn't been there when I entered. They ran alongside mine, perfectly formed, crisp in the fresh snow, leading straight into the trees. My chest tightened. My pulse quickened. I tried to reason it away. Maybe someone had walked there earlier. Maybe my imagination, fueled by alcohol, was exaggerating. But I knew better. I turned back, walking faster now, my boots dragging through the snow as I pushed toward the street. I didn't run, but I didn't slow either. When I finally reached the edge of the park, I didn't stop, taking longer routes home, telling myself I was shaking the feeling off. Eventually, I made it inside. The house felt colder than it should have. I locked the door behind me, peeled off my gloves, and started upstairs. But something stopped me. The hallway lights were off. I always left them on. I hadn't been upstairs all day. Slowly, I climbed the stairs. Flipping the switch, the hallway lit up. Everything seemed normal at first. Room by room, I checked, closing each door behind me. When I returned to the first door, it was wide open. My stomach dropped. I froze, listening, waiting. Nothing. And then, as if the world had shifted, everything went black. I woke on the floor, my head pounding, my body aching. At first I thought I had fainted standing up. The groggy, disoriented feeling hit me hard. But then, the pain arrived. Sharp, pulsing, spreading from the back of my head down my neck and into my shoulders. My arm was numb, tucked under me awkwardly. My mouth tasted metallic. My throat burned. Less than 15 minutes had passed since I remembered standing in the hallway, but that time had vanished. I didn't try to investigate further. I didn't call out or move too much. I called emergency services instead, barely able to explain what had happened. The dispatcher's questions sounded distant, like someone else's voice. The police arrived quickly, red and blue lights reflecting off the snow outside. They found nothing. No signs of forced entry, nothing stolen. Snow outside covered all tracks. They suggested maybe I had fallen or panicked when I saw a door open. I nodded along. But I knew better. The missing time, the open door, the footprints, they hadn't been accidents. For weeks afterward, I couldn't sleep. Every noise froze me in place. I slept with lights on, checked locks obsessively, and felt certain someone was just outside my bedroom door. Nothing ever happened again. No closure, no explanation. Life moved on, but winter never felt the same. A few years later, I took a job at a ski resort, small, tucked into the mountains, far from anything resembling a city. The town was tight-knit. Strangers stood out immediately. My position was maintenance, unofficially security too. Mostly overnight shifts. 2 people worked overnight, always, but I barely knew my coworker, Matthew, who worked on the opposite side of the resort. That night began like any other. Snow falling, wind rattling windows, the building echoing emptily. About an hour into cleaning, I noticed footprints outside the front windows. Deep, fresh impressions in the snow. They wrapped around the building and disappeared into the plowed parking lot. I put on my coat, stepped into the biting cold, following the trail, but saw no one. 30 minutes later, the doors in the connecting hallway opened. Matthew stepped in, pale, distracted, almost confused. I mentioned the footprints. He denied them, then left. The building suddenly felt different, too quiet, too empty. Then a loud bang echoed through the corridor. I ran toward Matthew's side of the resort, dark and empty, searching each room. At the back door, I found it wide open. Snow blew inside, footprints leading away up the hill, past the ski lifts, into the trees. I noticed more than one set of footprints, overlapping and partially filled with snow, evidence of multiple people. I called Matthew's name, the forest swallowing my voice, and then I saw it, a figure, tall, unnatural, standing in the snow, motionless, without winter clothing. Fear surged. I ran down the hill, slipping, pain shooting through me, until I slammed the resort door behind me and locked it. Matthew was gone. Police arrived, but no trace. The case went cold. Years later, caught in a snowstorm at a rest area, I felt the same cold, isolated presence. Inside the empty building, another car was half buried in snow. And then I saw them. 2 men, waiting. One blocked the bathroom door, the other paced slowly, smiling unnaturally. I barely escaped, the storm raging, the car nearly trapped in snow, before finally fleeing. Weeks later, the car's owner was reported missing. I realized then, it wasn't coincidence. The timing, the isolation, the snow, the silence, it was all intentional. Something watches in winter, waits for the alone, and strikes without warning. I never worked alone again. I never walked at night by myself. Winter doesn't forgive. It doesn't forget. And in the quiet, it is always watching. Snow still falls at night, and I still feel it pressing against windows. Somewhere in the darkness, I know it waits. Just out of sight.